Morning, friends. How's it going? Just want to try something out before we get down to business here. Still 038 Magnum. This is the one I built for Fab Willie. I tried to start this saw yesterday and it was a little finicky. I had to pull it over like 15 times. It did eventually go, but that's no good. Everybody has a system. This is part of my system. I'm pretty anal about my saws starting, running, idling. I like them to be perfect before they leave here, or as close to perfect as you can get. So what I did yesterday, friends, I gave it about a half a turn more low jet, and I gave it some more idle. Let's see if this thing starts now. If it doesn't, we'll have to try again tomorrow. I want to get a good baseline on this saw. Well, it's better, but not great. So again, a little more low jet and a little more idle. These, my experience with 038 Magnums is they can be picky to start. Mine was, okay, what did I do here? Okay, full choke, up one, no, choke. Okay, so I think I got my low jet set where it wants to be. I'll pull it over again. Just, let's hear this thing run for a second. Okay, I think we're good. It's morning. It's like 5:30. I didn't realize, but part of quitting smoking can be insomnia. And you guys guessed it, I have that. I've been up at all hours of the night, and which is good because it's teaching me that smoking has done something to my body. Now, normally if you have insomnia, what's better than a good smoke and a coffee? Not for this guy. So I still haven't had a cigarette, friends, and I'm not going to. I am a heavy smoker, and I feel great right now. I'm not sleeping, but it don't matter. That's temporary. Not smoking is a permanent decision in my life. So, just thought I'd check in with you guys. So yeah, it's like 5:30 in the morning, and I'm already out in the power saw shop because I can't sleep. So, 038 Magnum there. You guys see that? That's part of my system. Every builder has their own system, whether it be me, Iron Horse, Donnie Walker, whoever, right? We all have our own systems. Well, part of the Tin Man system is nothing leaves this shop till it's been thoroughly tested. That saw will get started every morning for the next week or two till I know that it's an easy starter, okay? It's not an easy starter right now. Why? Well, it's probably because it's not bedded in. You guys can hear my crickets are back. We might be into the cricket apocalypse again. It is what it is. Hopefully next year there won't be any. That 038's turning out to be a little bit of a picky starter. So what did I do? This is something I usually do, and a buddy of mine mentioned it last night, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do that. I gave it a half a turn more on the low jet and about a half a turn more on the idle. You guys saw me do that? It fired right up. So that saw is probably going to want to be nice and rich on the bottom from now until it breaks in. When it breaks in, I'm probably going to have to back it off a little bit because the rings will seat. Before the rings are seated, you need more fuel because you're getting some blow-by past the rings. And the ring seating creates that suction and pressure, right? And that's what gives you impulse through the impulse line. So it makes your carburetor move. The less impulse you get, the less fuel you get, which means you got to turn your carburetor screws open more. Makes sense, right? So that saw, until it starts perfectly, it ain't leaving the shop. My number one concern, friends, is reliability in the saws I build. And yeah, I built some crazy orangutan saws here, the home lights, but those even, friends, they got to start and run. The last home light I built starts, runs, and idles. That's like super important. So that's the name of the game for me. Anyhow, this morning, what am I doing? Well, I'd like to get some more work done on this 266. Now, I had a ton of feedback on this saw. All kinds of, friends, when I do a failure analysis, it's just more to help the community. When you see as many blown up saws across your bench as I have or do, you guys know, you saw mechanics. There's always, if I can help you guys and show you guys the failure point, it may help you rebuild a saw or fix a saw or keep your saws running. Now, I had all kinds of speculation on why this saw blew up. Everything from transfer flow to improper oil ratio, dull chain. Friends, it's just silly to me. I can't diagnose a saw over the internet without looking at it. Now, you guys want to know why this saw blew up? Let's just say. So, originally, friends, I wanted to make this saw run again. Okay? I wanted to put a piston in it and put this saw back together and keep this top end. This is an iron horse saw and I want it to stay that way. I can't do that, friends. Now, the reason why this saw blew up is the same reason why I can't reuse this cylinder right now. Now, I have a scheme worked up, and if I can get somebody to weld it, I think I can put this top end back on a saw. I got a couple of 66 carcasses there. Like, friends, I got 66 carcasses everywhere. There's another one just laying under the bench. I would like to put this top end on a saw and run it for a bit. But I can't fix it right now. That's the thing. You guys want to know what's wrong with this top end and why it blew up? It wasn't readily apparent when I first was looking at it, but then it occurred to me. And now, I've had the same problem with this saw. That's why I brought this saw out. Here, have a look at this, friends. Have a look at this. Now, friends, when we were building these, this saw was built slightly after this saw, okay? Harvey and I are friends, and we share ideas, and we go back and forth. That's what builders do, right? I can learn from any builder, and hopefully they can learn from me. See this impulse nipple, friends? Look. It come loose. It was epoxied in. It come loose. There's your leak. 100%. That's your leak. That's why the saw burnt down. Okay? And that is to put a bigger carb with an impulse line. Now, friends, this saw was built to make massive horsepower, and believe me, I'm sure it does. Okay? This saw was built on Harvey's channel. If you want to see what he did to it, go and check out the Iron Horse. Okay? This saw was built to make massive horsepower, and it did. I hear that this saw is very strong, and everybody, all involved are sad that it's no longer running. I hope I can make a suitable replacement. Okay? So, there's that. Now, I'm going to comment on something, friends, because you guys all know this saw. You guys that have been on the channel. This is my attempt to build a crazy 266 to go up against stuff like this. I did not succeed, friends. For whatever reason, we didn't build enough compression. This saw runs really nice. It idles, it starts. But the name of the game on this saw was horsepower. Right? Well, it didn't do that. Now look, friends. See that? Weird. An impulse hose. Okay? We had nothing but trouble with this impulse hose. It leaked. Still has an impulse hose on this saw, but I had to build a custom intake manifold and I mailed it to Buchan. I built a custom manifold on one of my saws, rigged up a carburetor, made sure everything was going to work, and then I mailed it to Buchan. He plugged this impulse line, put this manifold on and this carb, okay? So that's why, friends, I'm going to scrap this cylinder now because I don't want that impulse hose. What I may do, though, is I may get both of them welded up. If I can find a welder that wants to weld on this, okay? I'm just looking, there's something on there. Anyways, okay? So I'm just showing you guys that whether it's me or Harv, we've both had similar problems with these impulse lines. But the thing is, if you want to make huge horsepower in these saws, sometimes you put a 394 carb on them, and that's what that is, okay? And I believe this saw has an X-Torque carb or something nutso, okay? So these are for fun, friends, and we're just having fun here. And sometimes in the search of horsepower, which is what we did with both of these saws, okay, you got to break a few eggs, okay? Whether it be putting an impulse line. So there you guys go. I'd like to try this top end out. And all involved have given me their blessing for that. I really, friends, just wanted to fix this saw and put it back into production, but I can't. You guys saw it blew up. It is what it is. Saws blow up, friends. Look at the mung on this saw. This saw has seen some wood, okay? Those of you that work on saws, you can tell this is a daily use. This is a logging saw. You can tell by how dirty it is, okay? So this don't have that kind of time on it, not even close. Okay, so anyhow, friends, I just wanted to show you guys that because we were on this crazy impulse line kick for a while, Harvey and I, because we're friends. We do similar things. We try out different moves. I figured since this saw takes all the same size fasteners as the Farmer Tech kit, which I'm still working on. By the time you see this, I'm sure I am. Why not take this saw apart too? Now, this is the kind of content I enjoy. It shows you guys how a saw comes apart. And let's be honest, this is my good buddy's kid's saw. And Hogan's working hard, and I'm proud of him. A young fella. We need more hardworking young fellas out there in the world. I've worked construction my whole life, and when I was in my 20s, there was a million of me. We had to work hard because if you didn't work, they'd just let you go, and there'd be another young buck trying to make his way in the world. Well, nowadays, there's nobody. Not a lot of young fellers that want to do construction or logging or any of this kind of stuff. So, good for him. So if I can help Hogan and get him another saw into his fleet running, I'm going to do it every time. Okay. You guys can see that amount of shavings behind an oil pump. That's quite a bit. Quite a bit. That's one thing I don't like about this chassis is that it just fills itself with shavings all the time. Now, I don't care because this saw's coming apart, right? I'll just push that on the ground. We can sweep it up after. This saw's coming apart, so it don't matter to me. But if you're working on a saw that you're not taking apart, you got to be careful, right? That's from this saw seizing, okay? And it's seizing. It warped. Where the wrist pin goes, okay? And again, you can tell. Look at the color of the wrist pin. It's all blued. That's from an air leak, 100%. I'll bet money it's from an air leak. So, okay, throw this in there. This is going to go with the top end. Harvey definitely makes power. Looking at that top end, totally different from what I do, but interesting. See, that's one thing I try and do. I try and have an open mind when it comes to porting. Unfortunately, I don't know why in this hobby, there's like different groups, and if you're not in that group, everything you do doesn't work out, it's wrong, and I'm not like that. I kind of like to do a hybrid style. I do machine work, and I also do port work. Straight up port work can build a really fast saw. I don't know. I don't know why that's not a thing in some groups, but it's definitely a thing in my world. Yeah, so I can learn from any porter, and sometimes I like to do machine work, and sometimes I like to do porting. But one is not always better than the other. That's the thing. It depends on who's running the saw too, right? So I don't know, to each their own. That's what I say. Okay, and I always talk about these. This is a crank seal holder. It's plastic. They do warp. These are getting harder and harder to find. Sometimes you'll get a saw, or you'll get 2 or 3 of these in a row that are warped, and what happens is you end up with an air leak. I'm just gonna move all this junk over. Although this is the dirty part of the job. So yeah, be careful with these. If these do leak, I can show you when we put this back together an easy way to make it not leak. And really, at this point in the game, these saws are getting so old, you can't get a lot of these parts new. The newer style cases, like 268 and up, any case with a single piece ignition doesn't seem to have this setup. Oh, fumble fingers. Okay, right here. This saw's leaking fuel like it's going out of style. It's probably the fuel vent, tank vent. So we'll make a note and deal with that. I love working on these saws, and it's like I've done enough of these that I know all the little issues, I guess. I don't know all of them, but I know just enough to be dangerous, I guess I'll say. Okay. Okay, I had to grab my T27. Now, I was going to mention this. This is something I actually do often to these saws. I will use still fasteners in them. Sometimes these saws can vibrate and they actually drop fasteners, especially in the recoils and sometimes in the AV mounts. So your still fasteners will actually fit these saws. And the thing I like about the still fasteners is they got that little rib on the back, that little anti-vibe section, so they don't rattle loose. So that is actually a move I use on these saws. My 266, the one that you guys see me run all the time, that has still fasteners on the recoil, because for whatever reason, that saw, the recoil just would never keep the fasteners in. I'd run the saw and it would blow up. Okay, let's cut this off. These saws are notorious for needing mounts. This one's probably no different. Yep. Okay. Again, this is just typical 266 stuff. I see this all the time. I said we'll just jack this thing up and put a new motor under the hood. This here. My wife's not going to be happy when she gets up. I'm going to come in the house at 9 o'clock or 8, be done my workday already, and I'm going to stink like fuel. There you go, just like that. Easy cheesy. There is 2 or 3 different tanks for these, depending on which one it is. Some have a straight fuel line, some have a big grommet, and some have a small grommet. So keep your eye on that. Okay, here's that. Let's take this off. This saw has the big old school West Coast dogs on it. So as you guys can see, there's not much to working on these saws. Now, these saws are hard to port, friends, because they are short stroke, large bore. They're not easy to port. Never have been. I've had my struggles with this chassis getting them to go. My 272s go okay, but like I said the other day, Harv makes power with these 272s, which essentially is what this is now. I'm intrigued. Very intrigued. After running one of his, I'm like, wow, good for you. And again, friends, bottom end feels fine. The saw would have lasted forever, okay? But there's a lot of stuff in this bottom end now from this saw blowing up. So, like I said, I am just going to go through this saw and rebuild it. Because, like I said, it's my buddy's kid's saw. And why not just do it while it's here, right? It's going to take me an extra hour to build the bottom end, so... Okay, let's get this off. And again, I like doing them like this because I don't care how dirty everything is, because once you take them apart, right? Once you take them apart, it don't matter, right? You can throw everything in a bin full of diesel and be done with it. Soak them and get everything clean. So I'm going to put a 52 millimeter big bore from Highway. I'm going to call Ryan at Wolf Creek and get some parts. If you guys like what you see on this channel, please go check out Ryan at wolfcreeksawshop.com. Ryan is the only sponsor of this channel, okay? He helps us out with parts and things of that nature. So I've been using his parts for years. I wouldn't recommend Ryan if he wasn't a good guy, and he's a great guy. He stands behind his parts, and quick shipping, good prices. I can't say anything bad about him. So please go check out Wolf Creek right here, friends. Wolf Creek Saw Shop. There we go. Get that off. And friends, if you want to do bottom ends, which is a good place to be, if you want to work on old saws, you get the best deals on the saws that need bottom ends. Get a case splitter like this. This is an aftermarket one. I've had it for years and years and years. It's got 1,000,000 miles on it, but it still works good. Okay, make sure you got all your case bolts out. There's 4 around the crank, 2 here and 1 at the back. There we go. I bet you this thing's been apart recently, because that came apart nice. I don't know if that means, I don't know what's been done to this saw, but that was nice. Okay. One side. Again, friends, just like that, that easy. Easy cheesy. And let's do the other side. Again, that's why saw shops are dirty. Look how dirty this bench is now. And that's how it is with saws that pros use. They get really, really dirty. You can eat off some of my saws that they spend all their time on a shelf, you know. I like to see saws like this, and it's cool. Oh, and I guess you need to take your timing key off, don't you? Let's take the timing key off. Boom. Throw that in there. Don't lose that. There you go. So yeah, this crank's in great shape, but it is dirty. And there you go. No trouble with the bearings. This saw would have lived to see another day. Like I said, friends, the only reason why I'm doing the bearings in this saw is it's here, and the only way to really inspect the bearing is to take the bottom end apart. Now, there is some particulate in here, and I think that's from the wrist pin going. So again, that was the main reason why I took this saw apart. I was hoping to reuse the top end, like I said, because that'd be fun. I'd get to run another iron horse saw, study how the machine works, and you know, send it back to Hogan. But unfortunately, we are where we are. That one, that 266 that Buchan brought, the original Iron Horse 266, what I remarked at that saw is it made really broad power. It was just a nice torque curve. It was very smooth, and it got on the pipe quickly. I like that. So it was a nice saw to run. It was cool. Like I said, I'm a student of porting. I like running other guys' ported saws. There we go. I just realized it's 8 a.m. and I already have this saw broken down. That's fun. setting the bar pretty high for today. Cool. Okay, so I got this saw completely ripped down now. I will go over it and just check things out. I honestly don't see anything too untoward. It is what it is. It's a daily use saw. Remember, all these crazy things we do, whether it be putting an impulse line in a transfer so you can run a 395 carburetor, or, you know, putting a forged Wiseco piston from a 372 into a 272 top end and cutting the transfers out. Friends, we do this for fun. Chainsaws are fun, and we need to keep it that way. I'm having an absolute blast, and I love doing these crazy projects because they're fun and they're entertaining. And if they last, they last, and if they don't, we build them again, right? So remember that. Sometimes the build parameter is the saw has to be reliable. That 038 Magnum I started at the beginning of this video, the build parameter for that is it has to be reliable. Okay, that's a firewood saw. My 266, that thing needs to be as strong as possible because we want to know what we can get out of a 66. This saw has to be somewhere in the middle. So remember that. There's not one build style that'll suit every sawyer, and there's not one build parameter. Every saw that comes through this shop has a different parameter, and we have to use different moves to get there. So remember that. There's not one way to port a saw. There's all kinds of different styles. Pick the one that works the best for the saw that you're trying to build and go with it. And if it's not what you want when you're done, go, okay, I'm going to try it this way. And eventually, after you've done many, many saws, you will find a porting style that is your own. And go with that. Anyhow, friends, I need another cup of coffee because at this rate, I'm going to have this saw running by noon and I'll be asleep on the couch by 1. I'm just kidding. Anyhow, friends, thanks for being here. I'm so glad you guys come back day after day. Thank you for all your support, the thumbs up, the emails of support, with whether it be me quitting smoking or my wife and I having our first baby. Just thank you. You guys are awesome out there. I really, really appreciate it. You guys have made this time off. I've been off for almost 4 months now. You guys have made this time off smooth. I really appreciate it. Or as smooth as it could be, I guess. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Take her easy. Later.